Well, this mod is certainly something. It is certainly something. Inspired by the work of some goofballs on Reddit, the migrations that have changed Europe and the rest of the world are slightly altered and more chaotic. The Byzantine Empire found its true faith in Islam after defeating the Muslim conquests. The kingdom of Soissons, I think is how it's pronounced, survived to the modern day, which is 1444, and Africa remains Romano-Berber, and much more. There are bookmarks if you want to click through them and kind of see the lore setup of every region, and feel free to pause the recording and take a look if you want to. Obviously, with so many changes to the political map mode, we need to be looking at the religious map mode, and we've got quite a bit of variety. We have Arianism. This is what I assume is a Sunni or Shia derivative. I'm actually not 100% sure on that one. Alevilic. Okay. We've got the Finnic faith down here in Crimea. Nestorians. Manichaeanism, I guess. Prevalent out in the east as well as Nestorianism. Got a couple of Tengrists, I guess you'd say, over here. Mongolian ideas. Okay. And of course, the Norse, my beloved. A lot of nations are just in different spots. Sweden is in Northumberland. Burgundia down here looking nice. Saxony over here. And of course, we all know of the Islamic Sultanate of Serbia. I think the main character, or at least the one that most people would be interested in, is the Roman Empire here, Romania, which is Islamic. They definitely have overhauled the tech groups as well. We've got African, we've got Western still, we still have Eastern. So pretty interesting to see just the crazy differences between this map and vanilla. And I feel like it's kind of natural to draw at least some conclusions to other alt history mods like Antebellum and Postphenum, my mod. So yeah, I'm excited to give it a look. The mod just released like 2 days ago, so if you want to check it out, it's going to be linked in the description. I highly recommend you check it out. Maybe if you want to join their Discord and stuff like that, you can find that on their Steam page. We've got the Romans in the Great Powers list, as well as these guys in Asia, European, Asian, Asia, Asia, Europe, and Europe. So a bit of a split between the Great Powers. Of course, Ming has been split up, and basically all nations are at least somewhat changed by the looks of it. We've got a very different looking world map outside of Europe as well. Regardless, there's only one way to find out what is going to happen, and that's to turn it on up to speed 5 and unpause. So a couple of years in, we have an imperialist war using the imperialism casus belli declared by Britain, or by Sweden rather, against Britannia. So that's definitely interesting. Meanwhile, Saxony over here is at war, trying to vassalize basically everybody. So that's pretty good as well. Not really sure how those guys got the CBs that they did, but I'm definitely curious to see what the results of it is. I imagine that there's quite a bit of scripted content early on, at least that's my assumption, which is cool. Also, shout out Silesia up here in Finland, very nice. And of course, my favorite nation over here. Greeks definitely be coping and seething at this one, but they are Catholic, so there's something. Pretty funny to see a Christian Zoroastrian Punjab. And it looks like we've got the Fourth Crusade going on, and the Red Legion has, for somehow, some way, 93,000 troops? 93,000 troops. How in the world? How do they do this? What is this army they have now? So apparently they just get a free army because of the scripted war. Well, that is definitely something. That is definitely something. Safe to say the Romans are not going to win that, nor are the Saxons. Saxons, that they're going to lose some land as well. Not losing land though is the Swedes, who have taken a bunch of land in Britannia. But yeah, I definitely think we're seeing the downfall of the Roman Empire here, right before our eyes, though they are Islamic, so I guess it's not super sad. Not because I don't like Muslims, you guys are cool with me. I mostly just mean from the LARP, you know, the fall of the Roman Empire sort of stuff. Don't get it twisted, no racism here, lads. You guys know America, right? Hanging out over here in Brittany. Very nice. Got a lot of goofy names for the places, right? Like we've got Longobardy, Sweden. All right. Yeah, and these guys just can't catch a break. They're getting dogpiled by literally everybody around them, and I think the Romans they're kaput. They're going to be gone here within the next 30 years. Though it is pretty cool to see that the Red Legion named themselves Rubris Egyptus, which I think just means like Red Egypt in like Latin or Greek. Not 100% sure. I'm sure I'll get a ton of comments about the lore and like linguistic stuff and how a lot of it makes sense, how a lot of it doesn't. But you know, that's kind of the beauty of alt history, is it can just kind of be whatever you want it to be. Ooh, okay, this looks familiar. I should have mentioned this. We do have an HRE, the Holy Italian Empire. I believe I know of a mod that has a wholly Italian empire or something analogous to this. It does have all the same reforms as vanilla with, you know, Italian/Latin names rather than German, but very cool. Looks fairly stable. They're pushing through, at least getting some authority. So, okay. And I wasn't lying. It's been like 30 years and the Roman Empire it's essentially gone. It's essentially gone. There's a few little exclaves here and there, but yeah, it ain't happening. The desert nation of Palmyra has eaten them up. Moria, apparently. Even Calabria has gotten in on it with this Kolmyar Anatolia hanging out. So yeah, they're bad. They're gone. Spania is doing fine over there. Sweden up in the north is dominating that region. But how about Germania? Germania forming with Saxe-Anhalt hanging out over there in Denmark and southern Sweden. Very cool. Saxony is a shell of what they once were, but Occitania here is getting eaten by Cotia. So definitely a crazy amount of border changes happening very quickly. Meanwhile, Saxony out in the east is doing their thing. They've gotten Transylvania, lots of land over in Poland, and they're even pushing down here into the Balkans. So yeah, we'll see how that goes for them. Egypt is still very red. Anatolia is pretty pinkish purple. And we've got some formables going on up here. Looks like Sweden has formed Biono. Germania pushing over into Prussia. I think I've seen this one before. With the Roman Empire, a one province minor, their capital in Mecca. We have Frialslund over here colonizing Canada and Newfoundland, with the Spaniards colonizing Brazil, as well as the Americans colonizing Buenos Aires. We have a Mexica over here. Not sure if I know this one. They have their own religion. They are North American tech. They have a Grand Republic and a president. The Mexica Federation, huh? Elite infantry, huh? Shock damage and shock damage received, so they get Streltsy. Okay. On top of that, we do have a couple of other colonizers getting on over here. Catholic Racleon, as well as Impochian Betia. Not familiar. Oh, okay. We definitely have some reformations going on then. We have Wyclifian with their centers of reformation in the Baltic and then 2 down in the Balkans. It does not look like the Impotians or whatever have any centers of reformation though. And it does look like these guys actually follow religious schools, which is pretty cool. So we're 80 years in, we are in the age of reformations. The Great Powers list looks very different with Germania, a great power in Central Europe there, 800 development, almost as much as the Roman Empire had at about 900 on the game start. Saxe-Anhalt up in Northern Europe, Franconia, also in the Germania/France region. Cotia down in southern France with Rubris Egyptus in Egypt region. These guys over here in Asia, Europe and Spania, they are colonizing. No surprise there. And then Gyanka, which is actually over in Russia. So things are definitely, well, it definitely appears that the main character is now Germania, who has seemingly annexed Saxony. So that's definitely a thing. Saxe-Anglia, or whatever you want to call this, is absolutely thriving in the north. We've got Biono conquering the Emerald Isle with Belgia over here, holding out. Cotia still holding it down with Francia, actually, the majority development over here in like the Low Countries and sort of this Western Germany, I guess you'd call it. I don't know what it's called in this mod. Rubris Egyptus doing fine over here with Persia actually forming and looking fairly good. I would say they don't have a lot of Persia, but so far so good. We've got a good old Cummania hanging out over here in the Greek region. And of course, Turan has formed, which is like I think a Turkic sort of thing. I assume the Turks migrated into Russia in this timeline. That's kind of the thing. And this is a thing, apparently, as well. Windelia, which I assume was Serbia, based on the color. So, yeah, the Serbs are definitely doing okay. Down in Africa, Kilwa doing just fine, taking over lots of Madagascar, pushing all the way up and chomping away at Ethiopia. We've got the Sweebs down here in South Libya, I guess this place is called, with the Mauritanians, or the Maurians, pushing along the coast here with Jolof and the Congo, as well as, of course, America. With America taking La Plata, the Spaniards taking Antarctique, as well as Cariba, because the colonial regions are different. There are more colonial regions now, so it looks like we're going to see a lot more colonial nations. That's pretty cool. Over in Mexico, we've got a little bit more of the same, with these guys seemingly dominating most of the colonial Caribbean, as well as Mexico. Though it does look like California is being occupied by what I assume is the Suebans. These guys over here in Greenland are doing just fine, though New Sex Anglia is doing just fine over here on the East Coast, with Mexico doing good as well, all the way from Texas down into Florida, pushing all the way up into like, was this Missouri? I think this area is Missouri. So yeah, looking pretty good. Definitely excited to see the dynamic between, you know, the colonizers and New World nations that are established and doing just fine. 200 years left in the age of absolutism, almost here. Germania has doubled their development since we last looked, with Francia over 1,000 and Spania and their colonial empire taking the number 3 spot. There's a bit of a drop off down here, but a lot of it is because of institution. Kotia, Sex Angle in their colonial empire. Tehran in the 6th spot, though by pure development, they're actually like number 3. So definitely got to keep our eyes on them. Rubris Egyptus neck and neck with them, and Longobardy over there in the 8th spot. Well, we've got some more formables, this time in the shape of Italy and I think Tunisia. And more importantly, we've got some definite power blocks that are very much established at this point. With 100 years left in the game, Tehran is the guy over here. Sex Anglia is still the guy up here, though there's a little bit of cleanup to do, maybe Silesia. Meanwhile, we've got Biono over here still mopping up the Isles, with Germania over here in Eastern Europe, Francia in Western, and it looks like they're taking on Kotia right now. It appears that Italy has been united via the HIE. If I had to guess, that would be the only thing that makes sense to me. But don't worry, Calabria is still over here somehow. I don't know how, but they are over here. Red Egypt is thriving over here, with Persia thriving as well, taking the rest of Iran. And I don't know how much of this over here is Iran, but yeah, they're looking very good. Windelia is still thriving over here, with these guys doing okay, but Wu is the guy over here in China, with Liquan or Liquian or whatever in the south. Italy is Chola, Bengal, and Prabhuda. I don't know how you pronounce literally any of these. And Kilwa has finished eating Ethiopia and actually continued up into Nubia and southern Arabia. So Kilwa, very spooky. Benin decided to go in and shake up the colonial game by annexing colonizers' lands. So very nice. South America is all Spaniard or Bitinian, which I assume is a subject that they integrated. The one specifically that was over here in southern Portugal. They also have the majority of the development over there in the Cuba colonial Caribbean region, with Mexico getting split between them and Sueban, as well as Mexico taking most of southeastern USA, which is pretty cool. Americans still exist over here in, you know, Baja California, with our friends from Greenland still colonizing quite a bit over here in the northeastern portions of the continent, with Belgian stuff in Acadia, I suppose. The Sax English Vinlanders are colonizing down here in the northern parts of the US. Swedish Cascadia, and then Australian Cascadia, with Australia based out of New Zealand, and then, you know, an exclave over here on Australia, which apparently is Ulamora. So Yamati Malaccas does look like Japan is doing some colonization. And speaking of colonization, how about Brunei? Which, interesting fact for you, Brunei exists as a city-state today, with their capital kind of like, I think they're like right here. Basically, this is Brunei. I've heard it's a very shitty place, but, you know, I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other. Never been there. Either way, with revolutions literally right around the corner, we have Italy, the #1 great power by a lot, 3,800 almost, and they haven't even embraced the next institution. Francia, the #2, followed closely by Spania and their colonial empire, with Germania under a little over 2,000 development. So they haven't doubled quite since the last time we saw them, which they were growing very quickly. We have Kotia, Chola over in India, Persia, and then Wu, the Chinese unifier over there in the 8th spot. We also have an economic hegemon for Italy ticking up right now. So that is very cool to see. Well, in the end, everything is looking definitely different from what you would expect in a vanilla EU4 run. Germania continued their domination of Eastern Europe and seemingly are running a crusade against the Osmanoglu dynasty of Tehran. So there you go. The Russian Muslims are getting beat up on. For some reason, Persia decided to snake over here. And it looks like Windelia has actually lost some land to Wu, I guess you'd call them. which very interesting in their own right. They are the emperor of China and they took over everything basically, except for like whatever this is down here, Canton. They've got everything else for the most part. Italian Anatolia looking good. Italy only split by Cummania, and Red Egypt split by Purple Egypt and Tunisia. Oh, and Kilwa, who is, they're definitely still there. Though they actually seem to be losing a war or getting occupied partially in a war by the Spaniards. So, I'm sure if we let it run out, some interesting stuff would happen there. Spaniards made their way over into the Congo as well as in Guinea, where apparently the revolution has taken hold in Benin. Illa, or whatever this is, from Mauritania region has pushed down into sub-Saharan Africa and has conquered a lot of the land down there. Hispania is also revolutionary, with Sueben getting pushed to the periphery of the Iberian Peninsula over here, with Cotia squeezed between them and Francia. Meanwhile, Biono has literally like not taken any land here. The Jutland and Belgia haven't been touched. Extra 100 years we let it go and they didn't do anything. Saxe-Engel hanging out over here, though Silesia really did resist them, and I respect that. Heck, they even got some land over here in Gotaland, so there you go. These guys over here in Greenland seemingly formed Vinutur, which maybe is like a Canada formable, and Australia and Cascadia ended up eating the land from the Swabish over here, so there you go. Definitely looks like Spaniards won the colonial game in general, with Mexico taking a lot over here, the Vinlanders taking a bunch over here, and Australia having some stuff over on the left coast, but it's nothing compared to the entirety of South America and Central America. Religiously, it's pretty Catholic, though Impotian is still doing well over in Francia as well as in the Spaniards, with Arian seemingly holding tight over here in the central portion between them. Manetian, or however that is pronounced, ended up eating up most of the Zoroastrians and seemingly is synergized with them, as they do have a syncretic faith. Okay, that's pretty cool actually. Hindu still doing good over here in India. Confucians with some Nestorian, though it looks like it's mostly just all harmonized over here with the Confucians of Wu. It appears we have Indictian, though I don't know what that is. It has taken over most of the land over here in northern Africa that is not Catholic, even some Coptic lands, though Islam as well as Rashidi doing well over here. Aryans down in South Africa, with Islam the primary religion over here in the Indonesian Isles. It's mostly Impotian down under, as well as an Ain Zaid. And the New World is mostly Impotian in the south, and then up in the north we've got a split between, we've got lots of Asatru, or whatever the Norse religion is, lots of Catholic, lots of Aryan, and apparently lots of this Tlaloc, which I assume is the Mexica's religion. Culturally, it looks like the Swedes pushed a lot of Britannian out of Britannia. Not sure what the cultural map mode looked like in the beginning here, but Iberia's a mess. Now, apparently, these guys are all in a culture group here. We got Hellenes, Romans, Turks, Egyptians, Copts, so all right. And you can't forget about Serbian culture. Very, very nice. New World is American for the most part over here, with Mexica, Spaniard, Swabish, lots of stuff that you would come to expect after watching that run, with English, majority up here, and Vinlandic over here, which is pretty cool. It's a branch of the Norwegian / Norse Britannic culture group. South America is Armerican as well as Spaniard. So there you go. And if it was Armerica and I spent the whole video calling it America, I apologize. We finished the run with Italia still the #1 great power, as well as the fully stacked economic hegemon. Spania, the revolution has taken them over with a 3,900 development, including them and their colonial empire here, which is the majority of their development, admittedly, in the #2 spot. Francia in the 3rd with all their own development. So very impressive showing by Francia. Germania with all their own development, neck and neck with Francia for the #4 spot. Wu over in China with 14 subject development apparently in the 5th spot. And then Canada here, which is Vinland, Canada, over in North Rausulia in the 6th spot. Tehran in the 7th, though they are about to get bonked on the head by Germania. And then Persia in the 8th spot with over 2,000 development. Very cool split and a very fun run, honestly. It was a good one. I like this mod. If you guys want to check it out, like I said in the beginning, it's going to be linked in the description. I recommend you check it out. It's very small at the moment with as far as subscriptions and all that stuff. So go boost them up, show some love, join their Discord, and ask some questions about the lore if you are interested. And most importantly, for my purposes, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. I do appreciate that a lot, and it helps out the channel a ton. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do, and ding the bell so you get notified when these videos go up live. I appreciate you making it all the way to the end, and I will see you in the next one.